What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Jalen Talk Sports. I hope you've had a great week. Like, subscribe, and comment on this video. Let me know what you guys think. And let's get right into it. So today, we're talking about the winners and losers of free agency. And I've picked 4 winners and 2 losers because we're not very much deep into it, but a lot of results have come out of these past few days and signings are now official. So the first winner I'd like to touch on is the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota could very easily become losers at the end of the day, but what they've done so far has been impressive and has surprised me in a way. They lose Sam Darnold, who had a really good season for them. And right now, their only quarterback capable of starting would be J.J. McCarthy. And as we all know, he's a unknown, seeing as he's not played in the NFL in the regular season. I believe did he play in preseason? I'm not sure. He might have not played in the preseason. So, even if he did, it was very limited, and we don't know what we have there. So we're looking in the next few days to figure out where they go with that position. If they decide to stick with JJ and choose him to be the starter next year, or they go for a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, or who knows? Even bringing back Kirk Cousins if he escapes the Falcons. Or Russell Wilson. You never know. These are all options. But their additions were Jonathan Allen, Will Fries, Ryan Kelly, Isaiah Rodgers, and they brought back Byron Murphy. And these are 5 players I want to touch on that they brought into the fold this offseason. Jonathan Allen is an all-pro defensive tackle. That is not something to scoff at. That is an impact player that's going to make that defense better, and it was already pretty good this last season. Then you look at a guy like Will Fries and Ryan Kelly, solid, dependable, consistent guys on the interior of the offensive line. These are pieces you want because they had a bad O-line last year, and this just strengthens it for whoever is behind the line next year, whether that's J.J. McCarthy or a veteran. Isaiah Rodgers and Byron Murphy. This is going to make up for the fact that they lost an impactful player in Cam Bynum. They got they solidified the corner position. My bad there. They solidified the corner position, and they can probably address the safety position in the draft, where you get a guy on a cheaper contract who's capable of doing majority of what Bynum was doing for them. But overall, they've had a really great start to their offseason. Second team, my team, the New England Patriots. Gosh, I'm happy about how we've started this offseason. Yes, I wish some things had went our way, but I'm happy with the results we've had so far. Seeing last year, we threw money at guys because we had some, and they didn't decide to join our team. It shows progression. We have assets, and we have pieces that make people want to join the franchise. It's not just the money, even though that's a determining factor in a signing like Milton Williams, where he's hitting his first ever free agency and his market is high, and we almost didn't get him. He was going to Carolina, and we had to get back on the phone with him and offer him a load sum of money, the highest amount annually that any Patriot has ever got. So that proves how aggressive we were being. Harold Landry was a good signing, But people will argue with me on that because he had a bad season last year. And I think Harold probably checked out of Tennessee after Bravo left. And that's probably why he's here now. He checked out and he probably wasn't very invested in a crappy football team that he had there in Tennessee. He's playing for a coach he respects and is a proven winner. And someone who's got the best out of Harold Landry. I'm not expecting him to be a Pro Bowler again. But if he can be an impact player who gets maybe 8 sacks on the season, I'm happy with that. Then you go to a Robert Spillane. This is just... it's very underrated. I didn't know much about Robert Spillane before free agency, but I had heard his name a couple times. And I've only heard good things. He's not the biggest guy, but he has good size. He's quick enough and he's strong enough to get where he needs to get on the field in that linebacker position. And I think he's a great compliment to a guy like Juwan Bentley. The last guy I want to talk about is Carlton Davis. Carlton Davis is a corner I talked about in, was it my last video or the video before that? My video on the Patriots offseason, where I said we should sign Carlton Davis to play across from Christian Gonzalez. And he wasn't really being rumored. That was just a guy I threw in there because I said I'd like to have him, and he's here now. I don't want him to be my number one, but if you have that guy as your number two, you're doing something right. He's going to lock down number 2 receivers if he can't lock down your number 1 receiver. Carlton Davis was a great addition to already solid secondary. It's now probably a good secondary. My third team is the Washington Commanders. They haven't really done much in terms of signing players, but what they did do is make some big time trades. Deebo Samuel and Laramie Tunsil. Deebo can go left, and you can say this was an L if they don't utilize him correctly. But I think in an offense like Cliff Kingsbury's, he's going to find a way to utilize Deebo Samuel where he's going to be able to produce at a close rate to how he did when he was in San Francisco. I believe he'll get back in shape. He won't look like he did at the Super Bowl, I believe, where he was in the Eagles jersey. I don't think he'll look like that. I think he'll be back in shape. I think he'll be bought in. And I hope he's healthy for the Commanders. He could be a really good weapon, security blanket for Jaden Daniels. And that's another thing you needed. You lost Dammy Brown, and you got a guy to fill in that void. Laramie Tunsil is exactly what I would have wanted the Patriots to do. They got Moses Mason, and that's a stopgap, I guess you can say. But Laramie Tunsil is exactly what I would want my team to do. You have a young quarterback, go get him a left tackle that can be with him for the next 4 years. This is one of the best tackles in the league, and getting him to protect Jaden Daniels, it proves that the Commanders are serious. And they see a window of opportunity, and they're not passing up on it. And I appreciate the aggressiveness that they're showing me. The last team I want to touch on as a winner is the Chicago Bears. My bad. I don't know what it was, but these 3 teams that decided to take a quarterback 1, 2, and 3 last year are all in the winners. And they're following a template, I guess you can say, of how to create a winning football team. Chicago is taking this seriously now. Caleb Williams is a talented player, but Caleb Williams was always on his butt last year. You get a guy in Joe Tooney, a guy in Jonah Jackson, and a guy in Drew Dahlman. And what those guys are going to do is they're going to solidify the core of your offensive line. When you don't have good tackles, it's very important to have a good interior, because at least it somewhat makes up for where you lack. If they're able to address They don't even have to address, actually. They have the tackle positions secure. They got to that last year. And now they got the inside ready to go so they can compete. I think Caleb struggled and he made a lot of bad throws because he didn't have time. Same with Drake May. They didn't have time to go through all their reads, or their guys couldn't get open because there wasn't enough time for him to go through his progressions. When you get your O-line pieces like Joe Thuney, a guy like Jonah Jackson, a guy like Drew Dahlman, that produces winning football. And now you can go in the draft and you can go snag a Ashton Genty in the first round, and your offense is complete. Losers. This one makes me very happy because I don't like the 49ers. And I'm not calling them losers because I don't like them. I'm calling them losers because they're actually losers. What is going on? I understand that they have an aging roster, and you can say, yeah, it may be time to rebuild. But I sense a lack of effort and a lack of direction. Because you still have guys like Christian McCaffrey, Fred Warner, and George Kittle on your roster. Pieces that can help you compete. This team is not competing anymore. You're probably losing Brandon Ayuk, or that's a rumor that you're willing to get rid of him. So who do you have in that receiver room after that? Jawan Jennings, I believe his name is, and Ricky Pearsall. They need to figure out what they're doing. Is this a retooling stage or is this a rebuilding stage? Because if they're retooling, they're not retooling anything right now. I'm not seeing it. You're not seeing it. And if they're rebuilding, they're not doing a very good job of it. I understand wanting to pay Brock Purdy. Am I that much of a Brock Purdy believer? No. But you have to do what you have to do. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in the draft and see how they address their needs and if they hit on their players. It all comes down to that. If they swing and miss this year in the draft, it's time to call it quits. It's time to pack it up. It's time to tell Kyle Shanahan, go be an offensive coordinator again. I don't believe in him. I don't think he's that great. I think he's just an offensive coordinator. And he somehow squeaked his way into a head coaching role and hasn't proved anything to me, but he's a choker when it matters. You lose important, vital pieces to your locker room, and a guy like Kyle Juszczyk and Dre Greenlaw, loved players by the 49ers fan base, and in that locker room, you're losing. And the last loser I have is the Houston Texans. They're confusing me. Why trade Laramie Tunsil? I like what they got back, but why would you do that at the same time? Because you have a young man in CJ Stroud, and you're just dismantling his O-line. You saw how well he played in his first year. And as everything started to deplete from around him, you saw how bad it got for him. I'm surprised they made the playoffs last year. You can't take from a young man. You can't take, especially in this league. When you are winning games, you do everything you can do to maintain your roster and not lose key pieces. Why are you trading Kenyon Green after you already got rid of Shaq Mason and Laramie Tunsil? I get CJ Gardner-Johnson is a good player, but did you really need CJ Gardner-Johnson? These are reasons why they are in my loser list. They aren't adding pieces that I wanted them to add, or pieces that I think are going to really, really help them get back to where they need to be. They failed their young quarterback. And unless they do, like I said, the 49ers do, and really hit on their draft picks, this could look really bad. this could get worse than you probably thought it could be. I don't know if I'm overreacting, and I don't want to overreact, but Houston is a loser because of what they let go of. You can't lose your O-line. You cannot lose it. I can't stress that enough. Like, subscribe, share, comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.